EA Sports has finally released all of the Madden 24 ratings, so let's go over them. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of debates over these ratings as usual. We've gone over a lot of the players so far this week already in previous videos. We'll recap some of the position groups, but we have a few new ones to go over. Starting with quarterbacks, of course, Patrick Mahomes is coming in at 99 overall. I don't think anybody has any issue with that. Literally nobody should have a problem with that. Then it gets interesting. We have Joe Burrow at 95 and Josh Allen, who's on the cover, at 94. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to say that Josh Allen should be second. I mean, they're basically even. I mean, they're like one overall apart. They're both very good. I think Joe has just had a little bit better postseason success, so that's probably what's giving him the nod if I had to guess. But I mean, they're essentially, you know, rated the same. Then you've got Lamar Jackson at 4 with a 91, which actually surprises me after, you know, some of the injuries and some of the downtime. I thought they would drop him even more, and I'm really surprised that Hurts is not the 4th rated QB. He comes in at 88, which definitely feels low. That's the one I've seen that most people have problems with. He was the runner-up for MVP. Maybe would have even had a chance to win it if he didn't sit out those last couple games. I still think Mahomes would have got it, but Jalen Hurts was very much in that discussion, and he's only an 88. He should definitely be, I think, at the bare minimum, he should be a 90. I would probably put him over Lamar based on the most recent season he had, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. What they're doing with him is kind of the same thing they've done with other QBs, especially Josh Allen. If you remember Josh Allen's first 2 years, he was good. He showed some flashes, but there was a lot of bad. There was a lot he had to work on. Then in his 3rd year, he had an amazing year, and then coming into Madden that following season, he was like an 88 or 89, and everybody was freaking out. They're like, he's not even in the 90s. The same thing is happening with Hurts right now. First 2 years, didn't really look like he was going to potentially be the QB of the future. It was kind of still up in the air. 3rd year, he went ballistic. And so I think with EA, they're like, we want to see it again. So if he continues playing that way, he'll probably be, you know, 92, 93, 94, halfway through this season. Then you've got Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert at an 87. A lot of people think Dak is rated too high. He did lead the league in picks. I mean, I'm actually a guy that always says I think Dak is a little underrated just in general by football fans. Yeah, he does make some boneheaded plays, but he is still one of the better QBs in the league. But, you know, if you wanted to put Herbert or even Aaron Rodgers over him, I wouldn't really disagree with that, but I'm not really too mad at his rating. Aaron Rodgers being an 86, he's getting older. It's kind of the father time thing. We'll see if he kind of has a little bit of a bounce back with the Jets, but last year, you know, was his worst season, so kind of makes sense why he would drop. Kirk Cousins comes in at number 9 with the 84, had one of his best seasons, might have been his best actually. Really good season, so I'm okay with Kirk being there. Some people might want to see him higher. And then Tua, I'm kind of surprised, is the 10th guy at 83 because I thought it would be Trevor Lawrence, who's at 82. He is probably the QB that I have the most issue with. I am very surprised he's rated at an 82. I thought for sure he'd be like at 85 at least. I thought he would be in the top 10. Very surprised by that. And I think Tua is very good, by the way, but just with him having all the injuries and missing time, you know, that tends to affect your rating a little bit. So that's kind of my biggest thing with the top 10. I would personally swap Trevor with Tua. I don't have a problem with Tua's rating, but I would just bump Trevor's up like a few points, and I would definitely bump Hurts at least to a 90 at the very least. Then you've got Geno at 81, had his best season. Jared Goff, I think he's also kind of becoming an underrated QB at this point because he's a lot better than he used to be. Obviously, guys like Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Deshaun Watson, they're not playing at their best. They haven't been playing at their best, but they could easily jump up to the mid to high 80s if they have a good season this year. Then you've got Jimmy G and Russell Wilson at a 77. I do think Russell jump up now that Peyton's there. I think he'll be using him a little bit better. I think the Broncos in general are just going to be better. Justin Fields is the other guy I saw a lot of people take issue with at 76. It's really Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Fields. I don't have too much of a problem with Justin Fields because he just really hasn't shown enough yet. We know he can run with the best of them, but in terms of throwing, he hasn't really been able to show a lot yet, but also his situation has been one of the worst in the league. Now he's got DJ Moore, so he should have some more help. I do think he'll jump into the 80s this year, even if it's low 80s, but for starting the year, based on what he's done his first couple years in the league, I'm not really too mad at the rating because I just don't think we've seen enough from him yet to say that he deserves to be in the 80s. Then you got Ryan Tannehill also at a 76. Daniel Jones at a 75 is also very surprising. I forgot all about this. Him and Matthew Stafford, obviously Stafford missed time, didn't have as great of a year. Daniel Jones had his best year. I think 75 is just, it's kind of disrespectful. I mean, 79, 78, 80, like, I mean, that would be much more understandable. 75 seems kind of crazy. Bryce Young is the highest rated rookie QB at 74. Mac Jones at a 74. Brock Purdy at a 73. I thought he'd be like a few points higher just because of how he played last year. CJ Stroud is the second QB rookie QB at a 73, who is also tied with Kenny Pickett, who was the highest QB last year. Then you've got Andy Dalton and Baker Mayfield at a 72, kind of, you know, some older veteran journeyman quarterbacks, and then Jacoby Brissett, another older journeyman at 72 as well. Trey Lance is a 71. We'll see if he can finally bounce back and stay healthy. Anthony Richardson comes in at a 70 with 91 speed. We knew he would be fast, so he's going to be fun to play with. Desmond Ridder and Jameis Winston, also Jordan Love, all coming in at 70s. Desmond Ridder with 88 speed, which is really good. You got Marcus Mariota, Taysom Hill at 69, Will Levis, another rookie at 69, and Zach Wilson all the way down to a 69 as well. Hey, if you're still here watching at this point of the video and you're not subscribed, you might as well just go ahead and subscribe, because you're pretty much already a part of the family now, whether you like it or not. You're still here, so you might as well just join the crew. We're trying to get to 1 million eventually, and your help would be greatly appreciated. Now let's look at the tight ends, another new position that was recently released. Travis Kelce is our other 99 overall. No problem with this. He's been the best tight end for years. George Kittle, not very far behind, but Travis Kelce, I mean, go look at his numbers. Look at all the 1,000-yard seasons. Look at all the touchdowns he racks up. It's just unprecedented what he's doing, and he's probably going to break all the tight end records if he stays healthy, especially with Mahomes as his QB. You've got Kittle at a 96, Mark Andrews right behind him, 95. Those are the top three guys. Like, those are the clear-cut top three guys. No problem with that. TJ Hawkinson, I think, is definitely the fourth guy at this point, and he probably will continue to go up with that Minnesota offense. He's really good. Dallas Goedert right there with him at 89. Kyle Pitts at 87 is something that definitely surprised me, because he didn't have a good season last year. He just didn't. And I don't remember if he was injured a little bit. He might have been, but Kyle Pitts hasn't really completely lived up to the hype just yet. But tight ends are also a position that usually takes a little bit for them to like live up to the hype. A lot of the first round tight ends actually wind up busting a lot of times for some reason. It's usually later round guys that wind up being good, but it's too early to write them off. But I think 87 based off last season is a little high. Darren Waller's kind of fallen down a little bit at 86. Pat Freiermuth, 85. Like, in my opinion, I would have Freiermuth over some of those guys right now based on how he played last year. Then you've got David Njoku and Evan Ingram at an 84. You've got Dawson Knox and Zach Ertz at an 83. Dalton Schultz and Gerald Everett at an 82. Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki at an 81. Seems a little low for Mike Gesicki. Hayden Hurst, Tyler Higbee at an 80. And then Cole Kmet, Noah Fant, 79 and 78. I do think that's a little low for Cole Kmet too. I thought he really kind of stepped up last year, so we'll have to see what happens throughout this season. Now let's look at cornerbacks, another one of the positions they just recently released. This is always one of the most debated position groups. I feel like cornerbacks and receivers are the most debated, because there's so many good ones now that trying to come up with a top 5 or top 10, you're going to leave some good players out, and it's going to feel like disrespect, but there's just so many good ones at those positions now. Jalen Ramsey's still holding down the top spot at 97. I don't really have too much problem with it. I think he definitely lost a step last year. If I was going to change anything here, I think I would give Patrick Surtain the nod as the top corner, because I truly believe he is, and I do think by the end of this year, he will claim that spot in the ratings. And he's very close, as you can see, at a 94. He's 1 behind Alexander, and he's 3 behind Ramsey. And if Ramsey continues down that path of kind of losing a step, he's going to drop down a little bit, and I think Patrick Surtain's going to jump up a little bit. Marlon Humphrey at a 93 actually surprised me. Usually they don't rate him quite that high. I don't really know if I would consider him the 4th best corner, but again, when you look at these guys, I mean, they're so close. Like, Marlon Humphrey's definitely like a top 7 guy, no doubt. But I would personally maybe take Darius Slay over him. But, you know, even Sauce Gardner, you could argue after his season last year. But they're all within like 1 or 2 points of each other. So they're basically saying that these guys are equally as good. Then you've got Gilmore at 91, which surprised me too. I didn't think he'd be that high given kind of where he is in his career. He's still very good, but I thought he'd come in more like an 88 or something like that. Then you've got Lattimore at a 90, which as a Saints fan, I'd like to see him be higher, but he missed a lot of last year with injury. So I kind of understand. I think he'll bounce back and jump up later this year. Tre'Davious White's another guy that would be higher if he wasn't always hurt at a 90. Denzel Ward at an 88. I'm actually surprised because I feel like he's better than that. I'd have him in the 90s as well. But again, when you look at the numbers, a lot of these guys, they are very close. Now you get to the next group of guys, and this is where you start to feel like some players are getting disrespected. Like AJ Terrell, is he not a top 10 corner? I mean, based on the ratings, he's 1 point away from being. Same with Trayvon Diggs. He's literally 1 point away from being tied for the 10th best. And it's just all so close. But I think Trayvon Diggs definitely had a much better season last year than the year before. Even though they had less picks, he was much better in coverage, which is more important. AJ Terrell is still solid. I think these guys are liable to jump up to the 90s pretty easily. You've got Jamel Dean at 85, James Bradbury at 85. I saw some people say Bradbury should be higher. I mean, I'm pretty fine with where he's at. Patrick Peterson at 85, I saw some people say that that was too high. I mean, he could maybe be a little lower. The thing is he kind of was falling off, but last year he did bounce back and had a really solid year, so I understand why he's rated higher, but he's still debatable as a top 20 guy, so I'm okay with it. Then you've got Kenny Moore at an 84. You've got L'Jarius Sneed and Xavier Howard also at an 84. I know some people are going to say Howard's too low. I don't know, I've never felt like Howard was as good as other people thought he was. I mean, he was better some years ago, but last year, I don't really feel like it was that good of a year for him. We'll see, maybe he bounces back this year. DJ Reed and Greg Newsome at 83, along with J.C. Horn, Jonathan Jones, and Tariq Woolen. This is the one I think most people have the biggest problem with. Tariq Woolen at 83 just seems way too low. Now, a lot of people are comparing him to Sauce because, like, you know, he had more interceptions and stuff like that. Sauce is a better corner, like, flat out. Sauce is a better corner when you just look at coverage. You look at all the little things and not just interceptions and you know, deflections and stuff like that. Sauce is a better corner. Sauce deserves his rating. However, Tariq Woolen is not that far off. Like, he shouldn't be an 83, not in my opinion. I don't think almost anybody agrees with that. I would have him more like an 86, 87, I think would be more respectable. I don't think he's like a 90 plus guy just yet, though he probably will get there if he keeps playing how he did, but 83 is crazy to me. Like, again, 87, maybe 86, 88, that to me would be a lot more respectable. Got Tyron Johnson at an 83, Asante Samuel Jr. at an 82, along with Byron Murphy. We got J.C. Jackson and Mike Hilton at an 82. J.C. Jackson kind of fell off a little bit last year. We'll see if he bounces back. Adoree Jackson, Carlton Davis, Jalen Johnson, and Rasul Douglas at an 81. Then we got Dante Jackson, Michael Davis, Trent McDuffie at an 80, and Avonte Maddox at a 79. Now we're going to recap some of the other bigger positions if you missed the previous videos. I'm not going to go as in depth because I've already covered them in other videos, so if you want to check them out, I'll have them linked in the pinned comment. But top 10 running backs, we got Nick Chubb at a 97, which I agree, I think he's the best right now. Christian McCaffrey at a 96, Josh Jacobs 95, Derrick Henry 94, Saquon Barkley 93. I do think they got the top 5 right. I think you could shuffle, you know, number 2 through 4. You know, you can kind of shuffle them around. I think Derrick Henry still has argument to be number 1, but also McCaffrey. Josh Jacobs, he's had an up and down short career so far, but he had a really good year last year. So if you would like to bump him down maybe below Henry because Josh Jacobs hasn't been as consistent as Henry, you know, you could do that. You got Eckler at 89, Jonathan Taylor at 89, Aaron Jones at an 88, Tony Pollard at 88, Joe Mixon at an 87. For the top receivers, Justin Jefferson, no surprise, at a 99. Tyreek Hill at a 98. I think he's going to hit 99 finally this year. I think it happens at some point of this year. Devontae Adams down a little bit, but still a dog at 97. Cooper Kupp and Stephon Diggs at a 96, which I think that top 5 is probably right. The only other guy I would really debate, or 2 guys I think you can debate for top 5 right now, is for sure Jamar Chase and AJ Brown. So, you know, AJ Brown's kind of like the rating most people have the most issue with at 91. It just felt like he should be more like 93, 94. But I think Jamar Chase, you know, we'll say I think he bumps up into that top 5. But man, like the top 5 receivers, that's hard to crack. You know, if Cooper Kupp has another year that's a little bit more of a down year, if he's injured again and whatever else happens, you know, he could fall out. You got Terry McLaurin at a 92, which I'm not mad at because I do think he's really good. He's just had very bad QB play. He's not been in the best situation, but I think as of right now, I would have to put AJ Brown above him. Just, I mean, how good his season was last year. I think you have to reward that. Then you've got Amari Cooper at 91. Some people saying that he's still too high. He's not still a top 10 guy. But truthfully, I mean, we're talking about probably the most important thing for a receiver is the ability to run routes and get open. Also, your hands have to be good, which he has good enough hands, right? Not the best hands in the world, but they're good. But in terms of getting open and running routes, I don't think there's 10 guys that are harder to cover than Amari Cooper at just purely running routes and getting open and like understanding like where to sit down in zones and how to use your body, you know, to get yourself open. Like Amari Cooper, I don't think there's 10 guys better than him at doing that. So that's why I don't mind him still being a top 10 guy. Then you got CeeDee Lamb, who's also a top 10 at 90, and you know, he'll probably continue going up if he played like he did last year. Here are the top 10 defensive ends. Some of these guys are edge guys, some are more interior. It's all based on the scheme they play in. Some of the other edge rushers are going to be listed as linebackers because of the scheme. So obviously Aaron Donald's still a 99. Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa at 98. Both of those guys liable to get to 99. Myles Garrett's already been there. I think Nick Bosa will probably get there this year. Some people feel like he should have came in as a 99. I don't really disagree with that either. I think I mean, he's defensive player of the year. He was that good. Michael Parsons, 97. I mean, he's one of the best at this point as well. No problem with that. Von Miller, 94. Cameron Hayward, 93. DeMarcus Lawrence, 90. Jeffrey Simmons, 89. Cameron Jordan, and Trey Hendrickson at an 87. Now you've got your outside linebackers, and again, some of these guys are more edge rushers. Some of them might be stand-up guys that play more in coverage. You got Max Crosby, TJ Watt at 94. Good to see Max Crosby getting love. TJ Watt feels like he's back to being underrated. He's like the same overall as Von Miller. I think he's better than Von Miller at this point. Like, he should probably be like a 96, 97. Joey Bosa, 91. Hassan Reddick at a 90. He could be a little higher for sure. Matthew Judon is at 89. Matt Milano, Rashawn Gary at 88. Brian Burns, Danielle Hunter at 87. And Dre Greenlaw at 86. I would definitely bump Brian Burns up a little as well. At your middle linebackers, you've got Fred Warner at a 96. He's still the best in the league. No problems there. Roquan Smith, he's finally starting to get more love in the ratings. He was always super underrated. He's up at a 92. He's definitely been playing even a little better with the Ravens. Levante David at a 91. He's still very good. Demario Davis at a 90. Biased, but I would have him up higher how he was the last couple of years, more at like a 93, 94. I mean, him and Levante David, it's close, honestly. I feel like he's a little better than Levante at this point, but again, it's close either way. Him, Levante, and Roquan are all really close in my opinion, whereas Fred Warner, I think, is the clear best guy. Bobby Wagner at 89 at this point of his career, I think, is a little too high. He's not the guy he once was. I'd drop him a few more points, nothing crazy, but I would rather have like Nick Bolton and maybe even Tremaine Edmonds over Bobby Wagner at this point of his career, not all time, not by a long shot. CJ Mosley at an 85 along with Devondre Campbell and Eric Kendricks. And for the safeties, Derwin comes in at the top safety at 95, which I agree. I think that's right. Minka is the number 2 safety at 93. You got Justin Simmons, Kevin Byard at 92, Jesse Bates at a 91 along with Tyrann Mathieu. I think that top 5 to 6 guys is right. You can shuffle those guys. I think after Derwin, when you're at Minka down to like Jesse Bates and Tyrann Mathieu, you can shuffle those guys. Even as a fan, I would say Tyrann probably like at the bottom of that list at this point of his career, but like Byard, Simmons, Bates, Minka, I think you could shuffle those guys around, and you could see they're all within like 2 points of each other. They're very, very similar. Then you got Budda Baker at a 90 along with Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith's still one of the best, so I don't have a problem with him still being a top 10 guy. And then you've got Jordan Poyer also at a 90 and Micah Hyde at an 89. Those guys are still holding it down. Now, if you want to know more about Madden 24's franchise mode, which is getting a lot of big changes this year, make sure to check out this video right here on the screen.